changes in the composition? Do you ever do that sometimes?
Sometimes, if it's not working with the storyboard, because I mean that's kind of your go-to. You know, if it was drawn like this scene, if it was drawn to where the characters jumping in right here, well, I mean, you could do that, but okay, let's say this. Let's say there was no branch here. This branch wasn't here, but in the storyboard, he's jumping onto this branch. Well, I'd obviously put in that branch because it needs to be there for the storyboard to work. I kind of switched before. I was using the brush tool. Right here is the brush. Just create some leaves and stuff like that. You can create this also using the pen tool. A lot of times you can be a little bit more exact with the pen tool. So.
Do they give you a color style guide to work with?
Actually, for this show that I'm working on, this is the current show that I'm working on, we actually have a swatch palette that has a lot of the colors for the show. So a lot of the greens and stuff like that for like vegetation and stuff like that is kind of picked out beforehand. It does change varying based on like what time of day. So if it's a nighttime scene, obviously things are going to be a little bit more purpley and blue. Yeah, cooler colors. You know, daytime, like this is the basic scene that I already did. So those are some of the greens. I do use a lot of repeat, which is the great thing about using a digital program. So it's cool because you can see in here, there's some branches and stuff like that. I can go in with my pen tool and do that if I want. You know, create these branches.
You drag the pen tool like that, it's automatically following it.
Yeah.
He's clicking rapidly to get those shapes.
Are you?
Yeah.
Or is it just automatically?
Oh, I'm just like, I'm like literally like,
okay.
like doing Morse code. A lot of clicking in this program. So that's one way you can do it, or a lot of times what I'll do is, especially when it's that thin of a brush, I'll just go up to, remember I showed you guys how to make a weighted brush? Yeah. You know? One thing I don't like about this is every time I do something, it just automatically deselects it. Like in CS3, this would still be selected. So now I can go in, instead of using the pen tool, create some branches. Illustrator will tend to like correct itself. So it's almost like you're drawing, you're using this paintbrush and it looks all like crappy, and then it like fixes it for you. And you're like, oh, is this what you're looking for?
Were you trying to be an artist?
Yeah. Seriously. I ask myself that all the time.
Excuse me, creativity. So what if you did want it to be kind of rough like that? Is there a way to like set a setting so that you could have it scribbly?
I think so. Or you can just go in and use this texture brush.
Okay.
You know, just go in Texture brush. um, so, this right here, see this box that goes around right here?
Yeah.
That's 16:9. That's the basic widescreen format that we have now for TV. So that's everything that's beyond that is like the blade. And just for time's sake, I'm going to cheat a little bit. Oops. Select this. So there's some greens. I like to go in and actually change the color a little bit. The way you can change color is if you have a color palette right here. I'm currently in hue and saturation. All TV works in RGB. Hue and saturation is still RGB. It's just a different way of adjusting colors. So I can go in and lighten up that one if I want to, and make it so it's not just all like the same. Maybe these two, maybe just add a little bit more blue. And then lighten it up a little bit. I can go to this tree branch. I'm going to cheat again. Go around with my shoes.
It's very Tarzan-esque.
Yeah. Actually, the guy who designed this background worked on Tarzan. Okay. These are all the brushes that I use. So they're strokes right now. I don't want them to be strokes. I want them to be fills. So I can take this brush stroke that I did, go up to Object, Expand Appearance. It'll now make it into a fill.
And then you can change the inside of it, or?
Yeah, and then I can change the color inside of it. Well, I could still change the color of it as a stroke, but if I wanted to do anything special to that, like add a texture to that, I can't change the texture on a stroke.
Yeah.
I can only do it on a fill. So that's why I'll often change things to a fill. So another cool way to select things, those of you that know Illustrator will be able to understand this a little bit more. But this fill that I have right here, it's a solid like jet black. I can go in with my black arrow tool and select each of these if I wanted to. But the quicker way to do it is to select one and go select, same, fill color. And I'll select all those, now I can just go in and grab.
That's cool.
Now I'm looking at these tree branches. Things aren't quite looking right to me. So, can you guys see the color stuff very much?
It's hard to see
Oh,
the
okay.
difference.
Then I'm not going to even worry about that. If you guys can't see it, then what's the deal? Okay. Do you guys have any more questions? You guys can ask as much as you want.
How many people work with you on this project in your department?
Background. There's one person that does what I do. So
Oh, wow.
there's two colorists.
Okay.
They actually, you know what, on this particular show, we share a lot of responsibilities. My main job is to do background design in Illustrator, straight into Illustrator. But because I do know color, I will help out a lot with color. Like here's one I just finished last week. It's very good. This is all in Illustrator.
How long did it take you to finish?
Here's a bush, Illustrator.
How do you-
This took me 2 days to design it, and then you know,
Who are your influences?
who are my influences?
Like from classic art or from where you draw most of your inspiration?
In this industry, a lot of it comes from a lot of old.
Production designer?
Yeah, I like Mary Blair. I actually really like Beatrix Potter. I love Ivan Earl. He did Sleeping Beauty, and he's like probably my favorite. And it's crazy because in my building that I work in, they have a Disney archive. You can go into that Disney archive, and they have like some original like Ivan Earl Sleeping Beauty backgrounds that are just unbelievable.
So long as work at the Academy building, we did the Mark Davis Animation Festival. That's some Ivan Earl pieces.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
What am I trying to do?
The children's books that you worked on prior to doing like television work, were they like your own stories or were they other people's stories?
No, they were all licensed material, so they were like Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Laboratory,
Okay.
Strawberry Shortcake,
Were you like a particular published?
no, all of them, Golden Books, Random House, you name it. Right?
Does that pay well?
It does, but it's just not very consistent. So, you know, you get like, one 24-page book would pay like $12,000. But that's from design all the way to color. But then it would take them, after you finish the project, it would take them like,
How long would it be?
2 months to pay us.
How did you get that job?
Someone gave my name over to this guy who did children's books out of his house, and I came in, he called me up, just out of nowhere. Again, there you go. Have a good reputation, someone's going to refer your name over, get a job.
Awesome.
On this, I got this layer right here. This is the foreground layer of those leaves. Whenever things are more foreground, they're always going to be darker and more detailed. The further you get away, the less they're not going to be as saturated. Just like I like to think of like here, think of like these hills here. The further the hills get away, the grayer they're going to be, and the less detailed they're going to be. At night time, it gets a little bit different. Sometimes the elements that are further away will tend to be sometimes darker. So I got this layer right here. I'll just name it for ground weight. So I made another layer right here. And I'm going to work on some of this tree trunk. And it's cool because it really helps out, especially when they're doing it in Flash. Let's say they want to take these leaves, and they call it a BiPack sometimes, but like they want to move into this, tree branch right here,
Yeah.
like they're gonna truck in, go, so they can actually take these leaves and pop them out of the way, because it's on a separate layer. So when you're building things in layers, like, so I got this tree, these tree, whatever, limbs coming out, and then here's this tree trunk right in here. I want to complete that tree trunk, because if they do take these leaves right here and slide them this way,
You don't want it to be void.
yeah, you don't want it to be just like undetailed and looking like done. Let's see, what's the best way to do this? I'm just going to create the shape of this tree. I like these colors. This is where I use a gradient, because to give it some roundness. Let's see. Let's keep it grayscale for now. Nuts. Sorry. This tree limb is coming in right over here. I want to make it look attached. I'm just going to use this brush tool.
Thank you
See you
very
guys.
much. We're going back to class. Thank you.
Okay, now I got this tree branch in here. This designer down in here, you can see he put some cool, like, looking like, I don't know, like the tree's got some different coloring variations to it. So I want to keep this main shape here that I just created, but I also want to create another shape, that same shape, on top of that shape. The way you do that is, what's the universal command for copy and paste? Command C, Command V?
Yeah.
So if you did a Command C, Command V, it's just going to paste that directly into the center of your screen. That's not where we want that to be. But if you select this and do Command C, Command F, it's going to copy it directly in the exact same place it is, but but it's going to be on top. Command C stands for copy and Command F stands for in front. You can do Command C, Command B, and it'll copy it in the exact same place, but in the back. So now I can take this copy piece, see that? Use my knife tool that I was telling you guys about, and cut out some cool shapes. just do it to there. And then I want to delete this excess stuff. There you go. Now I just have this stuff. I don't know what that thing is.
It looks like it's supposed to,
It drives me nuts.
yeah, it's like alter the gradient right there interactively or something. It looks kind of annoying.
Sometimes when you cut things out, you get little excess pieces, like these. Just get rid of them. That's what I do. In this design, you can see right here how there's like a, I don't know how to,
The overlap.
yeah, like an overlap. Thank you. So I want to do that because I think it looks cool. There's a few ways you can do things to create that. Shadow in there. Oh my gosh. So you can do it that way.
Nice.
I can take this tree limb, and now if I wanted to, I can combine it to the main trunk. See how they're two separate shapes right now? That shape and that shape. I want to make it one piece now. It's going to change the gradients a little bit, but I can do that if I want to. Go into this Pathfinder thingy, combining them. I'm going to create a shadow underneath this one particular branch right here. Up on this menu right here where it says transparency, see that?
Yeah.
There's this box right here. Got some different modes. They're like blending modes, I guess. I use multiply a lot because when I hit multiply, watch the shadow that I just created. It'll retain its integrity of the gradient and also pop out the stuff from underneath it. You can drop the opacity on it to make it a little bit lighter. Or you can just take it off of multiply completely and play around with that gradient that I just put in there to make it look like it blends in a little bit more. Create a shadow on this. I'm going to add a texture to this so that it, I don't know, it looks a little bit more like a tree, I guess. Let's see, where's my swatches? There's a swatch that I like to use, and we made it for a junkyard scene, but it seems like we use it for everything too. It just ends up being a really cool texture. There's a couple ways you can go in and make textures on things like trees and ground and stuff. You can use those dry brushes I was telling you about. Or you can actually go in and just grab like a cool swatch or just like a bitmap texture. Like you can go onto Google Images and look for cool tree textures. Download that, make it into a grayscale bitmap element, import it into Illustrator, and then do the masking that I was just showing you guys about. And it'll mask that off so that it's just there. Okay, so there's the junkyard swatch. It's looking a little too, like, the objects are looking a little too big for me. So I'm going to go into Object, Transform, Scale, and just click Patterns, and I'm going to adjust that to, yeah, maybe 50. So I made it a little bit smaller. And then I can go over to the transparency palette where it says multiply or whatever, all these different blending tools. I can hit multiply and it'll look like that. I don't like the way that looks. It's like crap. So I'm just going to drop the opacity way down. So add just a little bit of texture to it. Maybe add a multiply to it. You can't really see from there. I wish you guys could see my screen.
You can, you just walk up there, see your screen.
You can a little bit. You can kind of see some of the texture in here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Does that just make it feel less sterile?
Yeah, it makes it feel just like less like, yeah, less sterile, just not so crisp and like it's like a nice smooth gradient, you know. It's cool too when you can get into like here's the finished piece of this one up here. Like I can grab some of this stuff that I made.
Now, do you have a library of assets and stuff that sometimes you drag and drop? Like if you want like weeds?
I've been on this particular show, I've been constantly collecting like, oh, I can reuse that, or I can reuse that for whatever. But in this one, I actually created everything. But it's cool to throw like, cause above this tree, I'm sure there's other like leaves and branches and stuff like that. So it's cool to make it look a little bit more real by taking something like this you can like add this in here so it looks like there's like tree branch shadow on this.
Just put the lights there. The lights good. So that's not gonna paint the dark.
So the way you do that is copy of that. Then you go over to your Pathfinder divide, which I showed you guys. Cut that out. Ungroup it. And delete the excess. Trim it off. So you do select, fill color, select all that. And group it. And get rid of this stuff. So now I got all these like tree branchy leaf stuff on here. I can make it look like it's a shadow. I'm just going to combine it with this. Oops.
Do you have any of your own properties that you're working on? Stories, anything?
Nope. I have time.
You ever desire to do that?
Yeah, I seriously don't even have time.
Yeah, family, 2 kids, wife, full-time career.
And yeah, my wife just told me this morning that she was pregnant.
Again?
Yep.
Wow. Oh my God.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations.
We just hope this one doesn't pass away too.
Talk, what did, was it like SIDS or something? Have you ever talked about?
So you got like these like tree like leaves that look like shadow now on here, and then like this right here looks like it's getting like full sun.
Do a lot of observation from like photography. I mean, like to build up like a good understanding of light and color theory. I mean,
I constantly, especially this one, I went on to Google Images.
yeah.
I just type in like movie theater at night, and then it just gives you so many cool stuff. So yeah, it gives you a lot of good reference for all that kind of stuff. Another thing that's cool is you can take like all these leaves and stuff, take it off.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot for coming.
it was fun.
To make a copy of it and just reuse it. You can transform something so it kind of changes shape. So it doesn't look the same as the one that I just copied. So I can go in and add some leaves up here. Just a quick way to get things done, you know.
I've got a question. In
Yeah.
one of your examples on here, I think you've got a pattern texture kind of warped on a wall.
Yes.
How did you do that?
I'll show you guys how to, I just did it.
Okay.
I'll show you how to do
Because
that.
I think I tried that transform and it didn't warp the texture. The texture kind of stayed flat.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Okay. So instead of creating all this new stuff, it's going to use the stuff that I've already made. Kind of go in and
Yeah, we're not gonna tell you where it's at though, visually. Just kidding. It'll be up there. It'll be under visiting areas.
Okay.
So the way you transform something, so let's say you want to take like, just hit on that really quick since you asked. So let's say you have this, right? Throw this gradient in there. Just to make this really quick mural or whatever. So you got this cool thing, right? Okay, so you got this little, whatever, object, mural, whatever, and you want, in an Illustrator, you want to put it as like a mural that's on in a hallway, but the hallway has like a perspective to it, but you've created it like this. How do you accomplish that? How do you skew it to make it so that you have all this work that you just did, but you want it to be in two? The way you do it is, whatever you want to transform, this object right here, first thing you do is push the letter E.
What is E short for?
I don't know.
Okay.
But this is how I learned how to do it. Push the letter E. It's probably like a keyboard shortcut for a transform.
Okay.
Once you do that, go over with to one of the corners. So we'll say that this side over here is going to be the far side of the hall. This side is going to be the near side. So take this and you click and hold on that corner and then hold the apple, and you can move it any way you want. So you can make it look like it's, if you want to do it so that this line right here stays straight, you just hold down the shift key. So E, click and hold on that corner, push the apple key and hold shift, and it'll pull it down. This one's not looking right. This is like if you had a flat floor, that's what it would look like. But if you want it to look more like from a person standing up view. You can make a copy of that, flip it over, rotate it. And you have a hallway.
That's cool. Go back to that. Just see that.
Perfect. There's the floor. There's the back wall. So that's how you do that. Did you try it out?
It was because I used a pattern, like that little fish pattern or whatever
So
it
you
was.
used one of the swatches.
Yeah, one of the swatches.
You should be able to do the swatch.
It didn't transform like I got.
Oh yeah, it won't do that.
Yeah.
It'll still keep,
The actual.
if
pattern.
you want to make that swatch go in perspective with what you're transforming,
Yeah.
then you have to go to, click on this, go to, oh man, I wish I had your guys' screen. You should see my screen, it's so stinking small. It's like seriously like this big.
Oh wow.
It's so hard to do this stuff. Go to, what is it? Go to Object, Flatten Transparency. Just hit OK. Now try it.
So what was it?
Oh, there you go. No, it's still doing it?
Yeah, still.
So keep it there and go up to Object. That swatch is selected, right?
I
It is, I think it is. Go to
object is.
Go to expand. Fill. Awesome. Now try it.
Ah, cool.
You have to expand it out.
Okay, so that's just become like regular objects now, and I can break it apart if I want to.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
So, like, before you start this, because you're working off a sketch, I mean, how much of it are you actually, like, just jumping into Illustrator and starting your original drawing? Are you starting your drawing in Photoshop or traditionally and then bringing it into Illustrator too?
When I'm doing the design as a designer, straight from the storyboard,
Yep,
I do it all straight into Illustrator.
just straight into Illustrator. Wow.
So I think that's probably pretty good. As far as like color composition, in this situation, let me turn these off. And I'm going to bring in the background that I had finished.
How long would you say that took you to do this one in particular?
Probably about 2.5 hours.
Cool.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to do the whole background.
Yeah.
But let me see if I can just get maybe some of the layers. I can show you how I layer things out.
And this one you did in complete color, like right from the start?
Yep.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? No, I didn't. I usually almost always do it in grayscale because I like to figure out my values first. And then, so when I did it in grayscale, like a lot of these foreground elements, obviously had, I made darker so that, you know, because the things that are closer are always going to be a little bit darker and more detailed. Okay. So this layer is these foreground branches. So if I move that out of the way, you can see this tree has still got the detail it needs for if they, you know, they're trucking in and they need to move as they go in. So there's that. And there's the tree branch, and then this is just like the background bushes and the tree brush or whatever.
So is a lot of flash art done like this and like exported over to Flash?
Yeah. Actually, like the background stuff, they usually will bring in as a bitmap, like a JPEG or something like that. If there's overlays, which are like if there are elements that are actually going to be moving out of the
Like
way.
you're talking about the branch?
Yeah. Those are called, in this industry, they call them overlays and underlays. So if there's things behind, like main objects, they call them an underlay. If it's on the top, it's called an overlay. They'll bring those in as a bitmap file separately. So they'll actually break down the background into layers as they bring it into Flash. At least that's my understanding. I don't really know Flash that well. So, but on Foster's, that's how it was explained to me.
That's cool.
Like in this background that I did. Like this front planter. Here's a gradient shadow shape that I just threw on top of this, you know. And then all these leaves, I almost guarantee you that I got them from that background that I was just doing. I just grabbed them and then made a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And then here's some example of how I use texture on the ground.
Huh.
You can see kind of some of the texture. And up close they're bigger. As they go away they get lighter and smaller until in here I didn't put any texture at all. If you look at these, they're kind of dark, but these planters, like seeding area, I put a little texture on there to make it look like cement.
So what if there was something like a lightning strike or something like that, that the light would have to bounce off of objects?
Yeah, I think they do a lot of that in After Effects.
Okay. So they just have to build their own shapes really carefully
Yep.
or something?
Yeah, sometimes we will like build like a light pose, like in this case, like this would be actually be a really good example because, like let's say the lightning struck right here, then these areas we would create this planter and all these plants like a version the way they are right now to where this part's lit up. And then a version where it's not lit up. So that when they bring it into Flash or whatever they're going to do to animate it, they can actually turn off those, on and off those layers when they need to.
So did they animate Fosters in Flash?
What's that? Yeah,
That was Flash.
that was all Flash.
I swear I knew it was Flash.
I'm trying to think of some other shows that were Flash.
Was Powerpuff Girls traditional or Flash?
That was traditional.
Huh. Wow.
But the movie, I think they may have done it in Flash. And the 10-year anniversary episode that we just did was done in Flash.
Okay.
All done in Illustrator and Flash. Using all those textures and anything else you guys have questions about?
You said you do the background first in grayscale. Do you just overlay color when you're ready, or?
Once it's all done and I've created like a tonal value of that background, then I'll go in and like, where's another? Oh, check out this cemetery I just did. I just did this on Friday. Like, it's all grayscale. So like this tree, can you see it on there? Yeah, you can. You know, it's got like, because you got the moon over here, so we know our light source now. So anything that's going to be coming in this direction is going to be lit up. Anything on the other side obviously is going to be shadow. So that's why when you look at this tree, it's all shadow over here. That's why I like to do it in grayscale, because then I can figure out the values. And then when I go into color it, it's just that much easier because all that's figured out. Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, do you just overlay the color over the value?
No, I actually use the actual objects.
It's not.
Huh?
He thinks it's like Photoshop. Like, cause you know in Photoshop, you won't use grayscale, you could just put a layer on top of or
No,
underneath
yeah,
it. Yeah, it's not like.
So you're gonna like copy the item and fill it with color.
No, I'll just use the same object that's there. I think I understand what you're saying. Like this tree. Where is that tree? There it is. Okay, this tree. If I want to color it, kind of muted because it's dark. And in this case, since we already have a moon color established, oh, it was locked, sorry. I'll probably just use the same highlight colors from this that is from this moon.
So you mentioned that often a colorist will actually go in and color your backgrounds after you. Would
Yes.
they be doing it the same way, or would they do it
They
similar?
basically be doing what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
But,
Why don't you just get that guy off the job and just go straight to color?
you know, yeah. Well, because they help out too. They actually do clean up too sometimes. They'll design out back. Well, they won't design out, but they'll take some of the drawings that the designers will do. So I basically take a well, once it's done in grayscale and I want to do it in color, all the objects are there. All I need to do is click on those objects, like that tree.
Yeah.
And in the tool palette, it's going to tell me it's this color right here, which is behind my head. And then I can just go in and change those colors. You guys have any more questions at all?
So you like want a teacher or something? Or?
I want a teacher.
Yeah, it's not that far from Chino, right? It's pretty close.
Good 40-minute drive.
30-minute drive.
40-minute drive.
30-minute drive.
They asked him about
moment,
teaching
people-
a digital illustration class.
Yeah.
Oh, I just got rid of the stop sign. I mean, yeah, Photoshop and Illustrator are just really different programs. Until you like sit down and really like mess around with it, that's when you'll really start to understand. Because I know that like when I sit down and I'm working in Illustrator for a really long time and I don't touch Photoshop at all, when I go into Photoshop, then I start doing things that I think that I can do in Photoshop and I'm like, oh, I can't do that. And even the same in Illustrator. I go into Illustrator after working in Photoshop for a long time and I'm like, oh, I just can't airbrush that shadow in. You have to create an object and a gradient and drop the transparency down just to make that to get that shadow you want.
Doesn't it seem easier in Photoshop though?
For some things.
For some things, the cool thing about this is that
You have,
it's just so much easier to move things around.
you have a tangent, you can just move it around.
It's
or
just
something.
so much easier. Yeah, that's why they like to use it for TV animation because, like I was telling, what's your name again? You,
Oh, Thomas.
Thomas. Like I was telling him earlier, is that like when we do backgrounds, we do the backgrounds for like we do like 20 or 30 backgrounds. But how many scenes are in an 11-minute episode? There's like 300 scenes. So who's going to do all those other scenes? Well, we do the basic like wide shot that is going to encompass all the in tight close-in shots for whatever. So we give all those to the animation team. They have their own background people. They're going to create all the different scenes based off of the scenes that we've given them. The cool thing about Illustrator is once we give that to them, let's say there's a scene where like you're in a room, but there's a shot that's like in a corner of that room, but it's at just a slightly different angle. That's the great thing about Illustrator is they can take that wall and do that transform thing and create that angle that they want. So they don't have to recreate the whole background from scratch. You can do that stuff in Photoshop. They are really just way different programs.
So do you see more backgrounds being done in Illustrator versus Photoshop?
There's more backgrounds done in Photoshop, and it just depends on like the. It just depends on like what you want to do, or like the creator of the show that I'm working on. It just depends on what kind of look he wants. This is the look he wanted. He wanted a more like, clean-edged, stylized, really, like if you guys ever seen Samurai Jack,
Yeah.
they could have totally done Samurai Jack in Illustrator. It would have been Powerpuff Girls, the original episodes, would have been a perfect show to do in Illustrator because it's so like crisp and clean, and like even the characters, like the hands are like real angular, and like Samurai Jack, like it's just the shape of his face is just real angular and all that kind of stuff. It just depends on like what you're looking for. So, but yeah, most of the shows they do it in Photoshop, and it's just what the art director wants or what the creator of the show is looking for. Do you guys have any more questions at all? Ask away.
I created a folder on the Kong drive. If you want to leave some of your stuff
Okay.
there, you can drop it. There's something called Art Institute MAA GAD workshops, and it's on the Kong drive. Which
So wait, where is it again? It's on
it's on
the hard drive?
The Kong drive. It's right beneath the hard drive. There's something called Art Institute MAA GAD workshops, the first one. So click on that, and there's Tim Allen's.
Oh, sweet.
Is the stuff you do in Photoshop kind of looks like Illustrator too? That would be good in Illustrator.
But as far as getting into Disney TV,
Your face,
it's probably good for you to know both, right? Well enough to create